I'm realizing like it's my go-to. Like it's my big struggle because it's just the one that keeps coming up so often. Is it's so easy to be passive.
Well, you can just admit that you forgot to record.
So we started recording, and only 2 of the cameras started recording.
Yes.
So, the number one place you'd want to visit, because we haven't done this before.
Yeah, absolutely not. Oh my gosh. Well, go ahead, since I have to think of mine.
We literally just did this.
Yeah.
No, my number one place to visit would be Acadia National Park.
Yeah.
Which I've been there once. I went with my dad back in like 2017. Always wanted to do a solo camping trip in the national park with him, so we went 3 days, and it was freaking awesome. Saw the sunrise from the top of Cadillac Mountain, which is the first place the sun touches in the continental U.S. We went kayaking through the bay, which was really cool. Didn't get to see any wildlife, which was a bummer. Had pizza and sat on the beach and watched the stars. And there was this ranger show, talk, like campfire talk, and it was so cool.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I love astrology, or astronomy, not astrology. There's a difference. And like I said the first time round, it smells so good there.
Yeah.
And
that smells amazing.
my dad, who was a national park ranger, may or may not, I will not confirm nor deny, that he found these in Acadia or in his backyard. And, I don't know. I have no idea. But my grandma turned it into a potpourri, and it smells so good.
Oh, it smells so good.
You want another whiff?
Absolutely. And I was telling him I'm mind blown that there's like snail shells in here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably decomposing snail bodies somewhere.
Probably. Oh, it's such a cool place. Emma wanted to take me there for my 30th birthday this summer, but we don't have money, so we're like, no. But that'd be awesome.
That's I know what that's like.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You know what we should do once you guys have your boy, Ryan has his boy.
Everyone have their boys.
Well, I have my boys. Steven has his boys. We should like do a.
They're having another boy though.
Yeah, they're having another boy, which is great. Boys are the best, and you're gonna experience how. Not the best. I say that weird because now I have a daughter, and I think daughters are pretty great. Boys are pretty great. But anyway, we should go on like a yearly trip.
Dude, I'm down.
Like, why not? Like us
I'm
all.
down.
I don't camp though.
Well, that might change.
I'm going to change. I am dedicated because it's something that is
it's so
traditional. Maybe I just haven't done it well.
Yeah.
Like, I could just be a big baby about it.
You could be. Spiders aren't that big of a deal.
Spiders are not cool, man.
Snakes are a little worse.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. For me, my ideal trip would probably be New Zealand. I've said this before. That's where they shot most of the Lord of the Rings film. And if you just look at the pictures there, it's just gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be honest. I know I was mentioning like a few places maybe in China that I'd like to go to, but like I spent some time in Wales and off the coast of the United Kingdom it's just breathtaking.
I would love to see like that part of England, like, or Ireland, Scotland.
Oh my gosh, man. I'm thinking about it now, and it like gets me emotional because there's one point where we drove to the coast called the Coast of St. Nons. And it's really cool because there's this little chapel on the edge of the cliffs and overseeing the ocean. It was gorgeous. And there was this little town overpass, and we went into this little town, and it's like you took a step through time. And we walked into this little pub, and it's just like I said, you walk through time, and there's this guy in the corner reading a newspaper. And we sat down. He actually came and sat with us, and we just had a conversation. The thickest Irish accent you'll ever hear, but he was legitimately a shepherd, and his sheep were just wandering outside the pub, just like wandering around. They're all spray painted,
waiting for him.
Yeah, they're just chilling out there, like, hey, yo, our boss is inside getting a drink. But it's that. Oh my gosh, it was breathtaking. Like in the smell of the sea.
Yeah,
that's pretty
great.
Cool, I'd love to go back there. So
cool. It'd be fun to go see like a soccer game there.
Football
game.
Oh, I went to, when we went, it was during the rugby match between, I want to say, Wales and England.
Okay.
And let's just say we're glad that we weren't English fans because it would not have been a good scenario where we're at because everybody, because it's the passion for sports there is just, it's different. It's
but I mean,
different.
Even, like that's how soccer is too.
Yeah.
Like even I'm trying to get into MLS because St. Louis just got their first MLS team.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, they've won 5 games in a row. Their first 5 games ever. It's the first time in MLS history that a first team has won their first 5 games. So it's awesome. But I'm trying to like get into it more.
Yeah.
And even just watching it, like people get hyped.
Yeah.
Like Justin Sheehan, he just came back from England and he went to 3 or 4 games while they were there, and he was like, yeah, it's like a high school like cheer, like if you go back to like your high school days and your basketball team, like all the chants and stuff like that, but it's the whole game and it's everyone. Like it's not like the student section. It's not just
absolutely.
So I'm like, I want to go to a game so bad.
Oh, I agree. Oh, dude, it's gonna change your life.
Yeah.
I love soccer, or football, what do you want to call it?
Whatever, but. Well, welcome to episode 11 of Featuring Fatherhood. Tonight is a continuation of last week's episode, which was let's be honest and talk about things that we feel like we failed the most at as dads. And so last week, Josiah shared his, and so this week it's my turn.
Mm-hmm. Dun, dun, dun,
dun. Yeah. I was trying to think about it because I feel like mine is like it's one that it's a constant reoccurring thing that I have to be very aware of. And it's not like it's an odd one, I'd say, because I don't think it is one that a lot of people would think is like a big, huge deal. And then sometimes, like, it's actually not a bad thing, but it's a good thing. But I think the thing that I struggle with the most is being passive. And so, like I said, like I think it's one that can be both bad and good, right? Like, if we look at Scripture, there are times where people in Scripture are passive. And it's a good thing, and then times where people in Scripture are passive, and it's a bad thing, right? Like, so Adam, for example, when, God creates the world, creates everything, he gives Adam and Eve the command of, don't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And Satan tempts Eve to eat from the tree, but it says in Scripture that Adam was there the whole time, which I think a lot of the time we like to think that like Adam was off doing his own thing and certain serpent just came up and tempted Eve on her own, but Adam was there the whole time and didn't do anything to stop it. So in that moment, Adam was passive. Like he should have stepped up and said, no, like we're not going to do this. Like, no, this God has told us not to do this. Like, no, basically, right? And not allow the serpent to tempt his wife. And yet in that moment, Adam was passive and didn't, and so sin entered the world. So that's an example of being passive in a bad way. But then you look at Jesus, for example, like on the cross, right? Jesus was passive before his accusers, right? They brought him into trial, and he didn't say anything in his defense. They whipped him, they beat him, they spit on him, and he didn't do anything. They put him on the cross. He didn't, respond in any way. And it says in Scripture, Jesus says to them, do you not think if I not called my Father, like he would send down legions of angels to rescue me? So he very well could have done something. Yet in that moment he was passive because he knew it was something he had to do, right? And so there's examples of good passivism. I think that's the word we're going to go with.
I like it.
And then being bad at, passive being a bad thing. And so I think for me, like I've noticed, just in the short time that I've been a dad, that there are a lot of times where decisions I make are made out of being passive, right? And so like I think of little things like when we're driving in the car, and I think I've mentioned this before, like I get real annoyed when driving, like people do dumb stuff, and it's just like, come on, think of the other people around you. And so in those moments, like I can get frustrated, I can, say stupid things, I can yell at people on the road, which would, at first you would just think like, oh, okay, that's anger, right? Which it is, but like at the root of it, there's being passive, because I'm allowing myself to let that get to me, right? Instead of just, letting it slide off, instead of just ignoring whatever stupid thing people are doing around, and really, thinking like, no, like I need to set a good example, right? And so that's the thing, like as a dad, we're supposed to set the example for our kids. We're supposed to, show them what it looks like to do all these things. And it can be really, really easy for me to be passive and just be like, okay, like this doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if I'm getting a little angry while we're driving, or it doesn't matter if I'm laying on the couch playing on my phone while my daughter's over, playing with her blocks. Like, not a big deal, right? And in reality, it's probably not. But I think the thing about it is like, once you let it happen once, it's a lot easier to keep happening and become a habit. And so that's what I've seen in myself, is that like my natural go-to is just to be passive. And then it becomes like habits that I'm building, right? Habits of getting frustrated in the car, habits of, doing my own thing and letting my daughter do her own thing. And so those are things that like I've realized I kind of need to push back against, and actively try to fight those things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. And I think it was important that you mentioned like there are good and bad ways to handle those situations.
Right. Because I mean, like, I think the two examples I gave, like of the ways that I do it, like, right, like laying on the couch and doing nothing, right? I mean, doing nothing, but like I'm sitting scrolling on my phone. I'm not doing anything worthwhile. And letting my daughter play by herself, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But I've been given the honor and the blessing to be able to raise her and to do these things, to play with her and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like when I have free time, like that's a blessing. So being passive in that way, like, is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Right. But then in the car, when someone, does something stupid and I get frustrated, like it's actually a good thing for me to be passive. Right.
Yeah.
And to be like, no, okay, I'm not gonna, raise my voice at them. I'm not gonna yell at them, even if, they did something right or did something wrong and deserved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I've been thinking about a lot lately.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And I've recently realized, once you hit a certain point, thank you, Zach. Like once your kids hit a certain point, they start going to school.
Yeah.
They start developing, they start blowing your mind with the stuff they're learning.
Yeah.
It hits you so much. Like, where did the last 5 years go? Yeah. Like I had a coach parent meeting tonight with Colin's coach. And I'm sitting here like, I'm talking to my kid's coach. Like it blows my mind, like how much time has just flown by. Yeah. And the issue, and I think a lot of fathers can fall into this trap, is regret, like falling into a state of regret for the time that we missed. Right. Like, even though, no one's asking you to feel bad for it. It's just like, I could think about it and be like, man, I messed up quite a few times. Like I could have spent a lot more time with my kids than I did, But the reality of it is right now they need you, and they don't need you regretting the past. They need you right now. So as a father, when you feel like you're in one of those, passive mindsets, what's your next step? And you realize it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those things where it depends. Like if it's just a moment of being passive, right? Versus like this has become a habit.
Yeah.
If it's a moment, I mean, obviously you still want to do something about it, right? And so honestly, like in those moments, if it's just a one-off moment, I just try to get up and do the opposite of whatever I'm kind of feeling, right?
Yeah.
So if it's, that I'm sitting on my computer and my daughter is sitting on the couch watching TV, right? The opposite would be to go and play with her or to take her on a walk or something like that, right? And if it's a habit, I first honestly noticed this like a couple months ago when she started bringing us the remote and saying, "Show." That's how she says it. It's so cute. I love it. I hate it, but I love it. But like she wants to watch Miss Rachel.
We haven't introduced that quite yet. We're terrified. Dude, we've heard so many things.
Honestly, it's really great. Like,
is it better than Blippi?
See, I like Blippi. I like because I feel like I could have been Blippi in another life.
Oh my gosh!
But
can't believe you just said that.
I like Blippi. It does feel educational. Like,
dude, that's great.
Miss Rachel is.
If you dressed up as Blippi for a Sunday morning, dude, I would be the happiest.
It's my next Halloween costume, bro.
Dude, that's genius.
Yeah,
I love that.
But like Miss Rachel, it's very educational, and I will say, like, I do think Amelia has learned stuff. Like, I feel like she's learned how to say things.
Yeah,
because of watching Miss Rachel. I just hate it because it's so high pitched voice.
It speaks to kids.
Oh, it's so hard to listen to. Like Blippi, it's like I don't mind. I'll watch along with you. But yeah, bro. But she doesn't care for Blippi. So anyways, she got into watching Miss Rachel, and which again, it's not a bad thing. Like screen time's not a bad thing. But I just started realizing that Emma and I were just kind of going to that as like what to do because it was the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, you're upset. Here, go watch screen time. Like, oh, we want to clean up the house. Go watch screen time. Like, oh, we just cleaned up the house and we don't want you to pull out all the toys. Go watch Miss Rachel. Yeah. And I just realized that had kind of become a habit of being passive. Like we were letting the easy thing be the go-to thing.
Yeah, that's good.
Because we could, right? And so in moments like that, like we have to figure out, okay, what's it going to take to break the habit and to change it? And at the same time, also thinking like, how much do we need to break it, right? Like, so for this one, like for this specifically with screen time, like, again, I don't feel like screen time's a bad thing.
Yeah.
If anyone's watched the other video that I put out about screen time, like I, as a kid, loved watching shows. I still love watching shows. I'm like, with videography, like story is a big deal to me. So it's not one of those things where it's like, we're not going to have a TV and we're not going to watch shows. But we do want to put parameters on it so that we can, have a more healthy relationship with it.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things, the book that we're reading for Huddle, which is Habits of the Household. They have a whole chapter on screen time, and it was like there was a quote in it where he said something like, it's a fight for not a fight for like their attention, but it was a fight for, I can't remember now. Do I have the book over here?
I don't want to say I did see it over here earlier.
I don't remember. It basically was like, is this a fight worthy to have in your family, right? Mm-hmm. To fight for your kids' attention, to fight for your kids' time and stuff like that. And so I think, when it comes to like, I've been passive enough times that it's now become a habit. I have to find ways to break it. And so for us, it was create rules around it. Rules that can be broken from time to time. Like, we're not going to be legalistic about it, but rules nonetheless, right? And so things like we don't watch it in the car unless it's a long road trip. And in that case, it's not the whole time. Like it's at the most like half of the time.
Yeah.
We don't watch it when we're out to dinner somewhere. We like if there's other things we can do, right? Like we don't let it be the first resort, but we let it be the last resort, right? So like if she wants to watch a show, we'll try going for a walk first or playing outside. We'll try playing with toys. We'll even like FaceTime grandparents.
Yeah.
Like those are my go-tos. And if it's still that point, like she's still asking for it, then it's like, okay, we've done a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So it can be okay.
Yeah.
And then there's also one thing that we've learned with it too, is like, it's actually helpful to give her a little bit of time at the end of the day. And I don't think she realizes it yet that like she gets to have it each day at the end of the day, or is like actually thinking about that. But it seems to like help a little bit. Like I can put her down while I make dinner and Emma's on her way home, right?
Yeah.
And she can watch for a little bit. And it seems like throughout the rest of the day, she asks a little less. So
Yeah. That's good. No, that's really good. And I think we're kind of in a similar season right now. So we had a typical nature of like certain points of the day where the kids would watch shows. And it was in the morning, so because it was easiest, we can get breakfast done. And then it was after school, and we noticed real quick how cranky, especially our oldest, was getting.
Yeah.
And it's about, I want to say 4 weeks in, and we haven't watched any shows.
Mm.
We've watched like 1 or 2 movies.
Okay.
They're upset about it. They still are. But like we've seen the drastic change in the nature on how they respond. Like when I would get home from work, sometimes the show would be on, and if I got a look from Colin, I'd be lucky. Yeah. Like, and that's just the way it was. His full attention was on, I don't know, something stupid.
Not
probably.
SpongeBob.
Definitely not SpongeBob. Not in my house. I wish it was though, but whatever. So we removed it, and we did see quite the change in attitude and things like that. And I think it's not like we were done with it, right? But it's just a matter of like, okay, when is the right time for us, or what kind of schedule can we put in place to make sure that they're not doing it as much. We've just really enjoyed not having it. It's been really nice. Yeah. And one thing that I learned is, if I find myself in those passive moments, I definitely can relate with you there, and you want to resort to the easiest option, involve the kids with you, like in whatever you're doing. I remember I had to work from home one day, last Monday, because I was so sick, and Sarah had to go pick up Colin from school, and I was watching Noah, but I was working in my office, and Noah kept drawing pictures, kept walking in. I'm like, Daddy's working. You got to go draw pictures, yada, 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 yada. And my first thought is like, turn the Xbox on, let him watch a show. Yeah. And instead, I invited him in, and I put on a how do you use a mouse game for kids. Like, hey, move the mouse over here. Like, click and drag over here. And the amount of excitement he got when he was able to do what Dad did. Yeah. And then Mom came home, and he was so excited to tell Mom, I was able to figure out how to use a mouse, like drag across the screen and things like that. That's something that, like we've talked about, that's something he's going to remember for a long time. But in those passive moments that you want to be able to put them on something so that you can focus on something else, encourage them to join you. Yeah. So
I mean, I think that's huge, because it's like that's the thing where it's like, it's so easy to choose the easiest option, but when you actually put the effort in to like choose the options that take a little bit more effort, and sometimes it's not even that much more effort, it's just a little bit more. Who's at my front door right now? It's like a big difference in what can happen, right? And I think the other thing too is like, if we are passive, especially as like husbands and dads, who is this? Just a couple of kids. I'm going to ignore them for now.
It's so weird.
They might be looking down here right now, because that's like the front door right there.
Kids.
But anyways, being passive, like it can lead to sin. Like in the,
oh, you're right.
You know, I mean, like, again, you go back to Adam, right? Like his passivity led to the fallen world. But like as dads and husbands, like it's very easy to like not put in the work, right? And to allow ourselves to get lazy, to allow ourselves to get angry. And it's when we do that, that it's then the door is opened for sin to come in and to, whether it, you know, some enemy's tempting us with something and we're more likely to fall for it or what, like that's when it becomes a lot easier. And so I think like I've kind of realized that, like, as I've given this more thought, and realizing like even with Emma, like what are the ways that I'm passive in my relationship with her,
that's good.
You know, like, and are there times where I'm not passive and I should be passive? And are there times when I am passive and I shouldn't be, you know? And so, it's just been a lot to think through. And it's one of those things where it's like, I'm glad that it hasn't, led to any big negative things yet. But I'm realizing like it's my go-to, like it's my big struggle because it's just the one that keeps coming up so often, is it's so easy to be passive. So
yeah. Good stuff, man. Blair's going nuts right now.
Well, maybe we should end it so I can go see what is going on. But yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. If you guys deal with passivism in a negative way, we'd love to hear about it. Share what you've done that has been helpful. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. We'll catch you guys next time.
See you guys.
Bye.